On International Women's Day 2016, women from across Atlantic Canada are gathered in Halifax, Nova Scotia to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Grandmothers to Grandmothers campaign, founded by the Stephen Lewis Foundation. They have gathered for an afternoon of sharing information about grassroots projects they are supporting in Africa, conversations about fundraising ideas for the campaign, and, of course, cake. The Grandmothers to Grandmothers campaign was launched 10 years ago to the day. On International Women's Day in 2006, the Stephen Lewis Foundation announced the creation of a campaign for Canadian grandmothers to stand in solidarity with African grandmothers, who were caring for millions of children orphaned by the AIDS pandemic. In August of that year, the Stephen Lewis Foundation hosted 100 African grandmothers and 200 Canadian grandmothers for a grandmothers' gathering in Toronto. The gathering lasted 2 days, during which there were workshops, all created and facilitated by the African grandmothers. The gathering concluded with the African grandmother's statement, "We will not raise children for the grave," to which the Canadian grandmothers responded with the promise, "We will not rest until they can rest." This response is based on the view that we are dealing with an issue of social justice and not charity. The Grandmothers to Grandmothers campaign has 3 goals: fundraising, raising awareness and amplifying the voices of the African grandmothers, and building solidarity among grandmothers. Funds from the Grandmothers to Grandmothers campaign support African grassroots organizations in 15 countries, working with grandmothers and the children in their care. The Stephen Lewis Foundation collaborates with grassroots groups who support grandmothers' immediate needs, such as nutritious food, health care, transportation and supplies for orphans, and longer-term needs such as business skills, microcredit grants, bereavement counseling, and HIV awareness training. There are now over 240 grandmother groups across Canada, which means there are about 10,000 grandmothers and grandothers, a term they coined as you do not need to be a grandmother to join the campaign. The figures for the Atlantic provinces are equally impressive, with 23 grandmothers groups and over 500 members. In the 10 years from 2006 to 2016, the Grandmothers Campaign across Canada has raised almost $25 million. The groups in the Atlantic provinces have raised over $1 million. Let's meet some of the Atlantic grandmothers.
Through those doors behind me, Bay Grandmothers is hosting our annual luncheon to raise funds for the Stephen Lewis Foundation, the Grandmothers to Grandmothers movement. In 2006, I traveled to Toronto and met with 100 African grandmothers. The stories they told really touched our hearts. They were carried throughout CBC, on national television, but being close with them and talking with them about what they were facing brought stories back to St. Margaret's Bay that have touched many hearts. And when we host our luncheon each year, we have a full complement sold out, and that helps us to raise many dollars to send for those grandmothers. We provide a very minimal meal, and we charge lots of money for it so that we can send that money to our sisters in Africa.
A lot of grandmothers have become very self-reliant and are now experts fighting on the front lines of the HIV/AIDS crisis. That is fantastic. It gave them a lot of self-reliance. The resilience of the grandmothers is unbelievable. Through all the things they go through, we're talking about people who have very little income and help each other constantly, do incredible amounts of volunteer work, take care of the children, take care of healthcare, try to stop the spread of HIV. They are working very hard to turn the tide of AIDS.
Chenaliendera ilala ensi yona etegeere era bwe tunifo twetiisa obuvunaanyizibwa abantu abandi bwe batali kwetiika ababairewo nga bazaire balabirira abaana buti niifwe oba kusomesa abaana abaali baire babasomesa bazirawo buti niifwe kale nga twenda tubalage nti tulina kye tuliikola ti nsonga tuli bakaire bategeere nti tulina omulimu gwe tuliikola.
We don't feel so much that we're giving something as that we're getting something. The camaraderie and the friendships and the experience and the sometimes getting to know these African women and they're inspiring us when we see what they can do with nothing and how strong they are and innovative. It's I feel that I get so much more than I give. And it's been fantastic.
And in addition to that sense of learning and appreciating another culture and some of the situations that they're facing, I find that I've made wonderful friends when you're working together with the women in your grandmother group. And not only do you make friends, you learn to do things you never thought you understood, and you have a lot of successes because you have joint projects. Sometimes from time to time it gets a little hairy and scary because you've got a lot of things happening, but the success and the excitement of having a successful fundraiser or a successful education event it fuels you to keep going.
So tonight we're at Sir John A. Macdonald High School in Talon. And this is the Metro Acts for AIDS Showdown. Each school has had a talent night and are sending their best acts to Sir John A. for the competition tonight. The funds for the proceeds from this evening go to the Stephen Lewis Foundation. And I'm here in the capacity as a member of the Grandmothers Campaign to tell a little bit about the work of the Stephen Lewis Foundation. As well, I'm going to be one of the judges. As long as another grandmother is coming to help me, because I'm so pleased, because she's a music teacher, I think the two of us will be okay. But this is just an example of all the opportunities that a grandmother, being part of the grandmothers, offers. You never know when you're going to stretch yourself and learn something new. It's been a wonderful opportunity to meet new women and to meet new people in the community. And this is just one more that for me.
So these children have no one except a grandmother to look after them. And we're trying to make enough money that they will be self-sufficient, they can send the kids to school, and perhaps set up a small business, whatever is necessary. But it's very difficult to look after a grandchild at our age. So we want to help them as much as we can. We've made a fair bit of money actually over the years. We're a very small group. The most we've ever had have been 11, and at present we have 8. And so it's quite an endeavor for 8 grandmothers to pull something like this off, but we have some really hardworking ladies, very hardworking ladies, so, and all grandmothers. And the granddads help as well. As you can see, there are some grandfathers here helping us out, so that's good.
Here in Summerside, we are organized and have organized for the past 6 years a bridge tournament, Eloise McDonald and myself, and it's been a good fundraiser for the group. And over the past 6 years, we would have raised over $5,000. We're doing it to help the African grandmothers who we know are raising children in very extenuating circumstances. And while sometimes that money may not seem like a large amount to we in Canada, we know that it certainly is to those ladies, helping them become more independent and helping their families prosper.
And we've decided to do 2 projects a year for the Stephen Lewis Foundation. And so we have completed 2, and we were able to send $1,000 to the Stephen Lewis Foundation, and we're just 10 little old grandmothers that raised, so we were kind of happy. It's a tiny community that we live in, a seaside village. We don't have a big audience to work with, but we we were quite proud of what we did.
Where do we get the strength to do this? It's that if all of us came together and supported each other and we had the means to do this, we would achieve that dream that seems so impossible of raising an HIV-free generation.
As these grandmothers in Atlantic Canada mark the 10-year anniversary of the Grandmothers Campaign with the Stephen Lewis Foundation, they celebrate how much has been done and also recognize how much is left to accomplish. Atlantic grandmothers invite other Canadian grandmothers and grandothers to join them in supporting the extraordinary work of the African grandmothers as these women change the course of the pandemic in Africa.
So you know that there are results, and I think that's important for people. Everyone likes to think that they are spending their time wisely, and with the grandmothers groups and with the Grandmothers Campaign, you know that whatever you're doing is making a difference, and I think that's extremely important for people to know that.
We in North America have so much that if we just do a little bit and share it with them, it can give meaning to your retirement years. So that's why I would ask other grandmothers to join in.